Okay, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, for our Friday live sessions. And today, I want to start with a quote that Kwoyin put in her catharsis self-study program that I did. That is inspired by Teal Swan. So, which will pertain to the entire Facebook Live today. So, true freedom is the willingness to feel every part of you. The other is also you. So I guess in Asian cultures, we're so good at like shoving our feelings down, especially the negative ones, right? And that becomes kind of our shadow. But it's still part of us. And if we don't really acknowledge it, we know that feelings persist forever if you don't acknowledge and let it come out, right? And so today we're going to talk about embracing that shadow side and just being authentically who we are. So can't wait to have this conversation with you, Kwoyin, and welcome. Um, she is an expert in this, and you have been doing it for a while now, right? Like a good decade or so. This type of work.
Well, I would say almost, but I think 2012 was when I started getting kind of obsessed with
Yeah, yeah,
shadow
yeah,
work
yeah,
because I
yeah.
was so deep in the shadows. Yeah, so
Yourself. So it comes from your personal experience.
yeah,
Yeah, I see. So
definitely.
how did you kind of like come to it in the first place? If you want to explain your story to our
Yeah,
audience, yeah.
sure. Oh my goodness. And again, thank you so much for having me here, Clover.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's such an honor to share space with you and share these really important, deep
Yeah,
topics
absolutely.
for our Asian community. Yeah, so sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, you're just how did you come to like uncovering shadow, like shadow
Mm,
work in general? Because like if you're not in psychology or like
yeah,
therapy, most
right.
people don't know what that is,
Okay, yes,
right? Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
So I got into shadow work because I was actually having a lot of body dysmorphia, really intense,
Mm,
like intense self consciousness, uh,
mm,
feeling really self conscious about my skin because I was having acne breakouts.
mm,
And and so it kind of started off as like a what I thought was a superficial
mm.
worry
Yeah,
concern that was
right.
actually becoming really intense.
Mm,
And and so I got really depressed about this and but secretly because I was so ashamed to even admit that this matters to me
mm,
about how I looked that
yeah.
that's why am I so superficial? Something like
Mm,
that. So it first started off as a physical ailment.
right,
Also, I knew that it was deeply psychological too.
right.
That I was internally creating, was like having a really hard time with this.
Hmm, hmm.
Um, and and it first started off with trying, just like changing my diet and things like that.
Right,
That
right.
wasn't working. That was just my initial,
Yeah.
I need to, what's going on here?
Hmm, hmm.
And that kind of led me into this really profound aha moment that,
Mm,
oh, the way that I feel and my
hmm.
emotions are
Mm.
creating is what's creating my physical symptoms.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So somewhere that connection was just made with, oh my God, wait, I became aware that I was the way that I was talking to myself internally,
Mm.
and not just about my skin, but really everything in my life, in
Oh,
like
wow.
relationships, with in relationship to my work, like everything was
Mm,
just like, oh, like I'm too ashamed of myself. I'm so
mm.
like I don't deserve to take up space at all.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
all of that suppression was just gathering,
Mhm.
gathering until it
Right.
became volcanic. And it was literally the way that it manifested was through my skin, through like little volcanoes, little, medium, large volcanoes all over my body.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
Wow, all over your body,
age.
not just your face.
Yeah, it was just like, mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm.
So
How long did that last?
the thing is, I had struggled with acne since like puberty,
Mm.
but and it would come in and out, and I was always really afraid of it when I first got it. But
Yeah,
then it just became around 2012, 13 was when it just blasted into
right.
another level. And it took me on another level with my self hate,
Yeah.
my reflection, with with my face, with
Yeah.
and I just went into a deep cave, like, oh, I can't leave my flat. I'm so embarrassed of myself. I'm so embarrassed that I'm embarrassed of myself. Yeah.
Right.
So, but that was what I didn't know at that time was that was in a way a kind of spiritual initiation into
Yes.
having to look literally deeper beneath the surface
Yeah.
and into the deeper energetics of all my, like, the unknown suppressed shadow aspects of myself.
Yeah.
And then it was this, and I'm still on the journey, of course, but like this like continuous unfolding of recovering or realizing that what was manifesting in my skin and internally has really deep roots.
Yep.
That was, I was like, oh, why am I talking to myself this way? Oh, this voice sounds a lot like how my mom used to talk to my dad and us, my sister and I. And why was she talking like that to us? And then it was like it's this ancestral beliefs, the ways that we think about ourselves as women.
Yeah.
That, I'm the manifestation of that, and I
Right.
hey, this
Yeah.
is not just my own. It's not just my problem. This is a deep systemic,
Cultural system
cultural.
issue. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
Korean as well, right?
sorry that I.
And you're Korean,
Yes,
a
I'm
Korean
Korean.
American. And so
Korean American.
the I guess standard of beauty
Yeah.
that they uphold is like another level. So I
Mhm.
can't imagine the pressure.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
realized, oh, even though I consciously didn't think that I subscribed to that belief, because I thought, no, I mean, I know that
Right.
that's messed up, that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
think that your only value comes from the way that you look as a
Mm-hmm.
woman and your attractability to the men, like
Right.
that
Right. Mm-hmm.
patriarchal thing. And
Yeah.
no, I don't think that, but
Right.
subconsciously I did.
It's there. Yeah.
So
Is it about uncovering all those things to the surface and owning all parts of it, right?
yep.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's always like usually a catalyst.
Yeah.
Something traumatic happens in your
Yeah.
life that kind of like led you down this path of self-discovery and
Exactly.
looking at the different parts of you.
Like
And
the
how
dark
do you,
night of the soul.
right, oh, dark, right, like the dark night of the soul. And how did you, I guess, come to embrace the dark side though? Because like, people usually just run away from it, right? And
Yeah.
how do you, figure that
Oh my
out?
goodness. Well, I have a story about like the first moment where I started to I felt a potent, okay, like there was like a moment of, okay, I think this is what integration is. And
Ooh,
it was, I think for humans, it's almost like to really awaken, it's almost like pain is the awakener. So when pain gets acute is when we're kind of forced to stop everything that we're doing, everything else that we think is so important, and start to pay attention to what's really important, the thing that's really deep, like
yeah,
embedded within, that's just like, look at me.
yeah.
And so there was this one afternoon during that time of my dark night of the soul, 2012, 13, when I was having a bad skin day. And I was just, there would be like ways where, oh, maybe it's a little better today. Okay, I think I can, like feel okay enough
Yeah,
to go outside. But then this day was like, oh no. And I
right.
just, for some reason, that day it felt especially acute and really sad that I was living this way. I became aware that like, this is no way to live.
Yeah, yeah,
That I'm afraid to go outside because of how I look.
right, right.
And I started to like become aware that, whoa, I'm really like deep in the prison right now. So something just inspired me
Okay.
I think this was definitely like a divine download,
Ah,
to let myself go to the mirror.
hmm.
And well, okay, right before this, my sister who I didn't even tell her anything that was going on, that how
Right.
bothered I was about this.
Yeah.
For some reason, that day I just kind of admitted like, oh, I'm feeling really bad about my
Mm.
and she said, okay, well, it's like these really mundane words, but she just said to me, I think you just really have to accept yourself exactly as
Mm.
you are.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I think it was because I was in so much pain and so desperate that her words, the place from which the energy from which she was saying it to me, like just channeled, I just heard it
Mm.
on a really deep level.
Yeah.
And then I was suddenly inspired to go to the mirror
Mm.
and to really sit and look at and into myself with the intention of I am here to just receive myself,
Right.
accept myself exactly as I am. And
Mhm, mhm.
it was psychedelic, like
Wow. Wow.
how intense the shadow parts were, like, oh, like it was just, channeling all the self-hatred, like, oh, you look so
Yeah.
disgusting, all the negative um litany of verbal attacks,
Right. Of
but for some
hatred, of
the
yeah.
hatred, and like and but for some reason I was like, I need to let myself kind of like sit through this and just
And not
witness
run
what's
away,
happening,
yeah.
yeah, without running away.
Mm.
And it was the first time that I did this, because
Right.
up until then, every time I look in the mirror, I hear the things, I'm like, oh, and I, just try to like put on
Yeah,
makeup,
yeah.
like, or just like, do something like to like not look at myself, not see
Right.
the truth of myself.
Mm.
So in that, I felt this weird, like, it was like this alchemy happening. Something was just
Mm.
like my body was just like wigging
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I, like, it broke through to a deeper layer within me where I realized
Wow.
that hatred, underneath that hatred was like intense fear and intense hurt.
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the vulnerability that I
Mm.
accessed.
Yeah.
hmm
Wow.
And I remember just like weeping, feeling so much. It was compassion. Just
Oh.
like seeing, yes, I look this way and
Yeah,
I'm hurt by
yeah,
it, and just the whole everything.
yeah.
And in that moment, I just felt this peace that I had not
Mhm.
felt
Wow.
in a while.
Yeah. Wow, that's true compassion and acceptance for yourself,
Yeah,
no matter what you look like.
yes.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Being with myself unconditionally,
Mm.
and then that was so crazy that, I mean, it's the same face, nothing changed on my skin, but
Yeah.
because I felt differently about myself, because I saw myself, I just felt like I looked better.
Yes.
It was
No,
weird.
it's
I was
true,
like,
it's
oh,
true, yeah. Yeah. Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
And so that was my first kind of experience realizing this connection between how I'm feeling on the inside, and that this is what I do have control over.
Mm.
I can get myself to surrender to how I feel, and this
Yeah.
changes my inner state, which
Mm.
changes how I even perceive myself. So this
Yes.
connection between the inner and the outer.
Yeah. And would you say that your skin actually improved
Yeah.
from then on? Yeah.
So that just became my, like, I just practiced this religiously. Every time I
Mm.
felt like, that was the trigger, my skin trigger. It was a trigger for me,
Mm.
triggering all my self-hatred programming,
Mm.
that I'm unlovable if I look a certain way or talk
Right.
a way. So every time I felt that cringing at myself,
Yeah.
I would practice this meditation.
I see.
Be like,
Right.
okay, I allow myself to feel this and I receive myself unconditionally as I am.
Mm.
And this
Oh, I
started to
love it.
build the muscle, and
Yeah.
miraculously, like over a span of some months, my acne started going away.
Wow.
My skin started healing.
That's so
And then,
interesting.
yeah, and it also related to, it's interesting that the skin is like this boundary between your inner and the outer, right?
Ah, true. Oh, I
And
love that.
and
Yeah.
there were a lot of things in my life at that time that I was letting, like, just kind of my boundaries were so, I didn't have boundaries because I was
Mm-hmm.
taught
Oh
to,
yeah, relate so
you
much to
know,
that.
like I was taught to be like, oh, sure, yes, okay, do whatever you want with me. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
walk all over me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what a nice, good person does.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in that paradigm. And as I started honoring myself more, I started honoring myself enough to say no to
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that was a big contributor of my inner
Yeah.
well-being starting to be restored
Mm.
and my
Oh,
skin clearing.
that's amazing. Wow, that's so inspiring. To see that your outer reality is just a mere reflection of your inner reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be able to have the control within ourselves to
Mhm.
undo all of the hate within ourselves and
Yes.
accept us for who we are. We don't need an external source for to
Yeah.
do that. We can just do that on our own. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that is so powerful. And like for me, it's like now I can even have more empathy for other people because it's like whatever they're showing you at the first layer, the anger, the hatred,
Mhm.
which is like, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Underneath that there's a layer of a hurt and a vulnerability, right? And when you can actually see that, then when tap into compassion for them, because we
Mhm.
we all have those feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And apparently your voice is a little low.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, what's
Maybe I'll
that.
try to come in closer.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, that was a while ago. Oops. And Michelle says, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Carl Young. So good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Awakening.
yes. And I feel like right now, a lot of people are awakening
Yeah.
to reality of or dismantling the belief systems that is built in our society, with especially in United States, right?
Yeah.
With the political system, and also with the pandemic, that we have to face our own demons, right? Or inner shadow. That's why this is so fitting to do this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm excited. So, okay. What would you say is the best way to uncover your shadow then? Like for you, would that be triggers? Because like when
Mm.
you have your skin issue, then you're like, oh, here we go again on this programming, on this
Yeah.
unworthiness.
Hmm. I find that it's almost like we don't even have to go looking for it because life always gives you something.
Right.
Um, yeah. So in your daily life, any, I almost want to say anytime you feel discomfort,
Mm.
something unpleasant within yourself.
That's
Hmm.
when you are like,
Yeah.
something's happening.
Something is happening. And I think that's why being curious about how you feel
Mm.
and being attuned to how you feel, that
Yes.
is the way that you start to kind of investigate and find out, okay, what's going on that I
Hmm.
feel a discomfort in myself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and this is where you kind of have to because okay, there's the reality of what people saying is the
Mhm.
reality around you, but
Right. Yeah.
but it's always, I think, checking in with what is my inner truth
Mm.
reality about this.
Yes. That's where you tap into your own authenticity.
Yeah.
It's not what other people say,
Where,
it's what you truly feel.
yeah. And
Mm.
I think it's really hard when we've been conditioned to always just be like, oh, happy,
Yep.
chill, get along,
Mhm,
be
mhm,
easy kind of thing. And
mhm.
so it's especially easy to gaslight ourselves when we feel
Yes.
something different than what other people are feeling. Be like,
Mm.
okay, just so that you can belong to the group, right?
Right,
But
right.
this is where we can get into trouble where, if we're ignoring our own internal signals for the sake of belonging, yeah.
Wow, that's some
Yeah.
truth bombs right there.
Hmm.
So
Get
true.
into some
Yeah,
trouble.
especially in Asian culture where it's such a collectivist
Oh,
mindset. It's almost like if you like veer off the path, oh, there are going to be
yeah.
consequences, right? So for us,
Very
that's even more
true.
difficult.
Very true about Asian culture. Yeah, collectivist.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Asians, especially, they're really, there's like the positive side of really good,
of
like
course.
you
Right.
can be like super well
Community,
organized
yeah.
together. Yeah.
Mhm.
like very cooperative.
Mhm.
But then the shadow side of that is,
Right.
you self-sacrifice in order to, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Wow, that's so good. And Michelle says, "You're beautiful, Kwoyin. I can feel your beautiful spirit and love your vibe."
Aw,
She's so
thank
sweet. Yeah. Oh,
you.
I know. I agree 100%. Because now you've done so much inner work that your beauty is like, it makes you
Go, let the, yeah,
let the
let
light
it
shine
out of my
through.
pores. Yeah.
I love it, love it. Okay, yeah. So you would say triggers. It's like, or feelings of discomfort is when you should get curious with it to
Yeah.
see what you should notice, I guess, about or question with like some conditioning or your thoughts that you've
Yeah.
been programmed with that you might
Yeah.
want to unlearn.
hmm
Mm.
So I find it super effective when you're triggered, no matter how small or big, to ask yourself, what is bad about this?
Okay.
And what am I making this mean about
Mm.
me or the
Okay.
situation? Yeah.
Right. Should we do a little role play there
Sure.
so
Yeah.
then people have like a better understanding of it? Okay, so when I feel discomfort, right, or when I feel that triggered,
hmm
okay, so okay, what is an example? I'm thinking
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
feel
When was the
triggered.
last time you were?
Yeah, that I get triggered. Um, oh, okay. That I feel okay. A friend of mine was giving me some advice, and I was feeling like some anger because she's like kind of pushing the advice on me when I kind of already in my head that I did my best with the situation. So I was just
Mm.
like you don't know better. I am trying the best I could, like type of thing. But
Oh,
then I have such a thing with suppressing anger
yeah.
that I was like, I'm gonna let it out anyways because I've like tried
Yeah.
to, done the shadow work, but at the same time, I still kind of guilt trip myself for feeling angry.
Mm.
So I guess that's what it would be a good example to use.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So, what was bad about the friend in what she said?
that
Yeah.
I was a little bit overwhelmed by the advice that she's giving me, but I do have that compassion uh, it, in understanding why she said that because she's just passionate with helping me. So then I have this like internal struggle because I know she's coming from good intention, but at the same time I feel angry. It's like
Mm.
I've already done my best. I know, type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you understand where she's coming from, but
Right.
how did you feel in your body? What were you
Right.
feeling in your body as she's like giving you that advice?
Anger.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Okay. Anger.
yeah.
Okay. So anger is about boundaries. So
Mm,
like your boundary was
cross.
crossed.
Yeah.
So it's like, what was crossed there?
Um, I guess she was giving me advice like so that it was too strong, almost in a way.
hmm
Like she tried to understand my situation, but because she is not in the same situation, then she doesn't know how much it's I guess how much it takes for me to actually do what she's saying. Because it's a lot more complex than that.
Yeah.
So then I almost feel like I I know I've already tried those things, like type of thing.
Oh.
If I was that calm, if I'm like that perfect, yeah, in the best case scenario or ideal world, I will be able to do it. But yeah, so it's like I appreciate advice, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, don't
Okay.
push me,
So
like type of
somewhere
thing.
in there, I hear like there was maybe um like something about the fact that you were saying like I was not more calm or something.
Mm,
So that it was not okay for you to have handled the thing However
Uh,
you did, in her perspective, it was
right,
not to her standard or something.
right, which is not true, but it's just the inner critic
Felt
of me
that way.
telling myself that I should be more calm about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm, that's the
And
shadow side.
okay, so I should be more calm, which is basically denying that whatever state you're in that was not as calm as you should be is not okay.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you make it mean about yourself that you're not more calm?
Well, okay, now I'm straddling between two because
Okay.
what I used to think is that it's not okay to show anger, right? Because when you're not,
Mhm.
when you're showing anger, then you're almost like you're not perfect. Well, which nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. But then it's like then I'm not lovable. There you go. Like that's
Mm,
the root part of it. Because it's
yeah.
like I feel like okay, that actually goes even deeper
Yeah.
into my lineage, so my family.
Mhm.
So with my family, it's not okay to show anger because when you do, then I feel rejected as a person,
Mhm.
and so I better not express that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's why I beat myself up when I'm not dealing it with it more calmly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's we just uncovered like one of your core beliefs.
Like a
If
limiting belief.
angry, if I'm angry, that means that
I will be rejected or
I'm
I'm not lovable.
I'm unlovable.
Mm,
Anger makes me unlovable.
right,
Hmm.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So it's like your friend, we'll just isolate it to like, yeah, how you felt in
Right,
that
right.
interaction.
Yeah.
Um, you felt whatever she was saying to you made you feel unlovable. Would you
Um,
say that's
well, not really. Was it? Maybe in like a deeper core sense. Like
Mhm.
it's like there is energetics. Like I wouldn't say
Yeah,
like consciously I would
right?
think that, but
Mhm.
I guess that's why I have such a visceral reaction
Yeah,
like to it because it's like I feel I wouldn't say lovable, not lovable, but like rejected.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Hmm.
as a person, which means unlovable. Yeah,
Mm.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then it's like, okay, yeah, feeling rejected
Mhm.
when someone, your friend, is giving strong
Advice.
advice,
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
unlovable. Mhm.
Right. Right.
So, I want to make the distinction with like that, even if that's not what your friend intended,
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I
or like
know not at all.
consciously,
Yeah.
that it's still that what you felt and what it meant to you in that interaction is valid,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not the absolute truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
then see, this is where like my inner battle.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, well, if I understand that she doesn't mean it that way,
Mhm.
then shouldn't I have more understanding? Like, you know what I mean? Then why would I still
Mm,
feel that way?
right. Uh-huh.
That's kind of like
So
what I'm trying to reject.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so something that just came in was um okay, so if we were to like kind of do a rewrite of put yourself back in that
Right.
situation,
Right.
um because in that moment there is something that you are perceiving differently from what she is perceiving in the
Mm,
situation, and so maybe this could be an opportunity for authentic communication with
right.
like where you can speak from just taking responsibility for your own experience, and
Mm,
telling the friend, hey, like I appreciate the advice you're giving me
yeah.
right now, but in the moment the way that I feel
Mm,
is somehow I'm just feeling uncomfortable in my body, and I
right.
feel like rejected.
Mm. Right. And that's owning that part within me.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And
Now,
I'm sure, like with the friend, it's like, oh my God, like that's not what her intention was.
right, right.
But it's a way to like make visible that
Mm,
undercurrent shadow so
yeah,
that it can be like seen in the light and that it's not just,
right,
yeah.
right. Okay. Now, what happens when the other person doesn't give you the empathy that you need,
Oh
or
God.
they reject you further,
Okay,
or they
so
withdraw?
right. So say that you did say that and the friend's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Just
right.
like,
Which could happen to like parents, friends, relationships.
mhm.
Um, like in my example, it was good actually. So like I actually did say that, like, oh, we did come to an understanding. She apologized and she knows this part of it. She's just being passionate. And I'm like, I get it,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of proud of myself for at least kind of releasing the anger
Yeah.
because I usually don't. And I felt safe
Mm,
with her, I
good.
guess, in a way. But some people you
Mm,
don't feel safe with. It's almost like you can't truly express
yeah.
yourself. So then what happens?
Right. Well, I think it's like if you've already had evidence or
Right.
having indicators like, okay, this person is not
Mm,
receptive to this
authentic
quality or
communication.
communication, then I think this is where like you have the free will to choose, is this person someone that I
Want to
want
keep in my
to
life. Yeah.
keep in my life? Yeah. And
Right.
also maybe it's like this is something that I've been like working on in myself too, of not
Yeah.
throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, like some people are just not there yet.
Yes.
Like, for
Yeah.
example, like parents. I know
I
my
was
parents
gonna say.
are gonna understand. They're like, what language? Or no, like I just, but it's not that I'm gonna just cut them out of my life
That's the
because they
thing. You
understand
can't. Yeah.
level, but see, like, okay, there's some with some people we can talk on this level and some I
Right.
can't, but I do get other needs met and those are
Mm,
okay too. So
right.
you're just being aware, like, okay, with people over here I can share this with, and
Mm,
you're discerning of how
yeah.
you like what areas you can talk about, and
Okay. With
yeah, it doesn't just
certain
get the
people.
whole person, and
Yes.
like
Oh, I love that. That's
that
good.
relationship that are good.
Yeah, no, that you're right. Because sometimes I can just hyper focus on the failure. Like after
Yeah.
I like authentically communicated and they didn't reciprocate it the way I thought they would,
Yeah.
then it's almost like I again self-reject. It's like maybe
Mhm.
that was not right, then that means I'm not worthy again because who I am is not enough. Again, way type of thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
as if it's
whoa,
your
going
fault.
down that rabbit hole again. It's like, whoa, wait. Like, no, it doesn't mean that. It just means a filter. It's like, okay, maybe the person's not
Yeah.
ready to receive your message. They can come from like the purest intentions, or that they are not supposed to be in your life,
Yeah.
or that you need to hold a boundary, like even
Yes.
energetically. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
yeah. So, because like with shadow work, I think as we practice this, which is like a new skill,
Yeah.
we might kind of get into these obstacles.
Hmm.
So it's good to kind of be reminded that when you failed, or that it didn't come across the way you wanted it to, or it didn't get received the way that you wanted it to,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's like, it's so, yeah, it makes sense mentally, but it's so hard. It can be so hard, like when you're in it.
in the
Like,
moment. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's the, mhm.
Yeah, it's like you are still enough. You're still,
Mhm.
whole and complete, like
It's
without
like,
them reaffirming
right. Like
your
that's not
feelings or valid.
it's not your fault that they can't or don't see you.
Yes, yes. So
Mhm.
good,
Yeah.
so good. That's right. That's right. Yeah, sometimes we just like need to soothe ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I do now, like inner child meditation, where I literally imagine myself as a child sitting on my lap, and I would like talk to her, I would hug her, and she can just like release all these like hurt and sadness and stuff like that, and letting all go, and me being the parent, like it's okay, I'm here for you, that
Yeah.
like, makes a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah. And you can tap into it anytime. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that really helps. And I am doing, or I was doing the course, the cathartic um, self-study course that you have.
Yeah.
And I remember picking up the baby. It's how you term that.
Man.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of like, you know, the inner child work that we do to help acknowledge that it's okay to have those feelings, because you won't talk to a baby like, in demanding ways and tell them to like suck it up and all of that stuff,
Right.
right? But why do we do that to our adult selves? We
Yeah.
we still have that child in us that we need to nurture.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
somewhere I was hearing about,
Mhm.
it's like that your inner baby, infant, child self,
Mm.
they never grow up. They're always a part of you.
Ah.
And the only thing that shifts is how you treat them.
Ooh, I love that.
Mhm.
Oh, I really love that. That's good, because it's like instead of forcing the baby to grow up,
Yeah.
it's us as the adult learning how to treat them better.
Yeah.
That's a really good mindset shift.
And that's so interesting that you just worded it that way, forcing them to grow up. Because in a way, I think a lot of us can relate to this, that a lot of us were kind of forced to grow up too quickly.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
with parents demanding the child to be like more than what they were able to for their age,
mhm.
taking on too many responsibilities
Yeah,
or whatever. And so yeah, it's so important that
I
we
love that.
kind of that we can go back into time, that
Yeah,
always
mhm,
current.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that brings me to like, now that we're talking about inner child,
Mhm.
there in your course you talk about there are so many facets of us
Mhm.
that lives within us. That's like a village of
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
right? Can you
Uh,
explain that a little bit? Because that actually completely blew my mind, and I'm
mm.
now actually being able to embrace my shadow a lot better because I can personify it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So powerful. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we are like, each individual is, we have many, many different characters that live inside our singular perspective.
Yes.
And so, um, I mean, the thing is that trauma actually creates this kind of fragmentation of our
Oh,
consciousness,
okay.
where it creates these different streams, you could say.
Uh,
So when growing up, certain things, certain traits of ourselves are approved of,
mhm.
kind of like that fragment of our consciousness gets more emphasized.
Mm.
It's like, okay, oh, they like this. Okay, let me keep
Ah,
doing this because they like that. That's what gets me love.
oh
And,
yes.
and
Okay, I
anything
can see that.
disapproved of, that gets, put away. And
Mm,
so, and that's just on a very basic level of, how consciousness can split into, the light side and the dark side. And we
mm,
have so many, I mean, I don't even know, we have a lot of these kinds of fragments that
yeah,
existing within ourselves. Some are conscious and some are not. And
right.
so that's really what shadow work is too. It's about finding what parts of the self that was forbidden to express,
Mm,
and how can we bring that into the light so that we're whole beings.
mm,
So yeah, the different aspects of self, I mean, I think going about the day, you can kind of like sense into, with certain people, this part of the personality comes out.
right,
And
right.
um and with like triggers, okay, I would just want to name some characters that
Sure.
maybe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like there's the inner critic we
Mhm.
all are familiar with,
Yeah,
the one that's like, no, don't do that, you're gonna look
yeah,
dumb.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there is the part of the self that's on the other side of that, the one that's kind of like, I would say this is even an inner child part, that's like the more open, creative, expressive
Mm,
one.
Playful. Yeah.
playful, that kind of does something innocently, and then the inner critic comes in and says like, no, don't do that, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The one that's strongest in me is the Wonder Woman.
Oh, right, you were talking about the Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So that's
super
the
strong, like independent. It's like blocking the inner child from being seen, actually. Because like when the inner child gets hurt and it's painful and everything, the Wonder Woman is like, nope, suck it up. But it's almost like the in a bad way, like an inner critic, but also like a defense mechanism
yeah.
to say like you can do this, you're strong enough. Because it also comes back
Mm.
from my lineage of my grandmother being widowed, bringing up 4 kids. So
Okay.
and then my dad also brought me up super independent, right? So everything it's like no, pick yourself back up, you can do it yourself, all
Okay.
of that. And so it's like I'm not allowed to show weakness.
Mm.
So it's like when anger, pain, whatever it is, like the
Yeah.
shadow side of us that comes out, then I never acknowledge it because like, nope, I'm a strong person. And it's something that is constantly reinforced that I'm so good at it that people see me as resilient, right? So then it's almost like now, oh, I have to like fulfill this character of resilience. So when that weakness comes out, it's like, like
Yeah.
I deny myself from like, yeah, feeling that.
Yeah, kind of sounds like it's like some kind of ancestral feminine
Mhm.
matriarchal
Yeah.
powerful like
Yeah.
survivor, the one
Yes.
that survived really intense, like being widowed, having to take care of
Mhm.
so many children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's your protector. That, yes, I think it's important to recognize that every part has, even if they have a negative,
Mm,
they're always they always have a positive intention. There's
right.
always a really good reason
Absolutely.
why they exist. Like
Yeah.
this one got your grandmother through hard times.
Absolutely. I mean, I still love the Wonder Woman
Yeah.
archetype. Yeah, for sure.
But
It
then,
got me to where I am today.
right. But then
Yeah.
it's almost like, and this is what I talk about in the course with how do we create internal democracy? Because things
Mm,
get really kind of we get really anxious and
yeah.
tense and confused and stuck when there is one or more aspects of the self that's kind of taking up
Ah,
more of the space. That's
ah.
not letting other parts have space.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
like this internal fascism that we can encounter.
Right.
We're not even conscious of
Oh,
it because that's just how it
right.
was growing up.
It goes overpowered by
Hmm.
the president. Yeah.
So
Right, right.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
see.
like the external politics world is a total reflection of the inner too.
Yeah,
Like they're related. So
that's so
I
interesting.
mean, we're living in a pretty fascist.
Yeah, ways.
Well,
That's
yeah,
interesting because now I have this visualization in my head where you're literally in like a town meeting,
yeah.
like of like all your different characters in your head or a village meeting, whatever you call it. And then it's like the loudest voice is like the Wonder Woman for me.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it's like, and then I have an old granny within me. She's very needy. And she's kind of my shadow, like height maintenance, needy, and all that because I'm very triggered when people are needy. And because I had to
mm,
be very low maintenance growing up to get love for my dad
yeah,
and for my like dad's side, my grandmother's side, because
yeah.
it's like suck it up, all of that stuff, don't have
Right.
needs. So in a way, they can coexist, but it's like how do we have the democracy of like, hey, you can speak now, old granny, now you can
Exactly.
like Wonder Woman, you can come out now and just let them take their turn
Yes.
according to what they're good at,
Hmm.
and show that side of you. I really like this.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like giving space for, yeah, the other marginalized voices and figuring out for
Mm,
both sides, what are your deeper needs here?
right.
What are your fears? What are
Oh,
your needs? And trying to like understand from both sides or
ah,
multiple sides. And usually like the further deeper we go, you go into that, you'll
mm,
find that they have a common denominator because
yes.
they share space in your consciousness with your body,
Yeah.
like they're all a part of you,
Yeah.
and it's just that they've kind of forgotten that they're all connected.
That's so
They're
true.
all actually like, we all want the same thing. We all
Yes.
want,
Yeah.
well, most of the time
Absolutely.
I think we all want to feel safe and good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 100%. It's so true because I did your exercise when you were talking about that, how like the different characters,
Yeah.
what their fears are, their concerns, and the desires and needs.
Mhm.
And found the common thread for all of them. They all want the same thing at the end of the day, which is to be loved
Yeah.
unconditionally.
Hmm.
Yeah, which it's really the human existence, like why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like each defense just comes up because they want it,
Yeah.
unconditional love, but
Mhm.
it just coming up with different ways to protect us.
Yes. But
So
each one has a different strategy for trying to
right,
get what they think, yeah, get what they want.
yeah,
Yeah,
but sometimes they're in conflict,
exactly. Uh-huh.
where it's just like, wait, okay, let's have a meeting.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you're like, we need to have a meeting, a conference. Okay.
Right, right. Like, okay, who comes up to work at this thing? And it's like, let's strategize this.
It's like, stop oppressing this part and
Right,
wait, what are your gifts and skills? Maybe we can give you
right.
another job
Yeah, yeah,
instead of
exactly.
terrorizing this one. Okay.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. And that reminds me of the movie Inside Out. I don't know if
Yeah.
you watched it. Yeah, it's like the
Uh-huh.
different feelings like
All the
joy,
different
sadness, grief,
emotions.
anger. And it's like, okay, they all have their function. It's like, let them
Yeah.
do their thing when they need to. Yeah. So if
Hmm.
anybody's interested, watch that Inside Out. It's an animated movie. It's really cute. Yeah, so we have talked about so much, and I guess like the last thing that I want to talk about that's related to shadows is visibility shame, because I know that you have a second course on that as well. Especially for Asians, we are ashamed to be seen, to be heard, to have a voices heard. So, absolutely want to talk about that and your experience with it too, because like it's a ever evolving journey. um, and yeah,
Ah,
'cause-
well,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so visibility shame catharsis is, yeah, I when I first set out to I just got the download, oh my goodness, I need to make a course about this because it's
Mhm,
so important, and I kind of
mhm,
realized this is kind of my core fear.
mm,
Like, if I really just take it to the essence, it's on such a deep energetic level, it's like the fear of
right.
being seen.
Yeah.
In so many, how this fear manifests in so many different ways,
Mm,
from the really tiny moments of the day to the bigger things, like,
mhm,
letting myself be seen as this role in the world, and
yeah.
yeah, and how I speak my needs and relationships. It
Mhm,
all, visibility shame is such a prevalent issue, and so I made this course in a very different way that I made the
all the
catharsis.
other ones. Okay.
Yeah, with the intention of, because I have shame about the way that I speak,
Mm, yep.
that I that I intentionally,
Mm,
or my higher self or something, said, okay, you're going to have the topics you're going to talk about, but you're not
right.
going to script it. You're just going to speak naturally.
Ah,
And so, and be as authentic as possible about sharing your internal process as you
mm,
make this course on visibility shame, like me encountering all my visibility shame demons.
right.
So the course is kind of part documentary of my experience of
Oh,
making this course
interesting.
on visibility
Oh,
shame.
that's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of sharing, okay, this came up for me as I spoke this, and and I don't know, it felt like divinely guided, and I finished it, I created it, I put it out there. And once I put it out there, I just had a major shame meltdown. I mean, the past few weeks, I was just like, oh no,
Mm,
it's out there. People are watching it now.
mm,
I just showed my something that I'm so ashamed about myself,
mm.
you know?
But would you say that's the antidote
Yeah.
to the problem? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is to act exposure therapy. Yeah.
Exposure therapy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I think this was unavoidable, that I would come upon a deeper like shame layers within me in making this. And and I talk about this in the course. It's like when you want to expand further beyond the perimeter of what you think is possible, you're going to encounter all your like internal critics, inner gatekeepers that are like, no, go back to your comfort zone. And
Mm,
so, yeah, I'm demonstrating that, yeah, it's hard. It's gonna press all your buttons,
yeah.
and you know, with what I experienced, it's gonna like I felt like the it was so weird. I felt like a criminal after I released it. I felt like I was like, oh my God. It was just the inner critic was
Yeah.
so loud. And I was
Mm,
realizing it was almost funny, like, wow, they're telling me that I shouldn't even exist because I
oh,
put
wow.
there. And if I just
Mm,
look at it zoomed out, it's kind of
you're
ridiculous.
like, really? Yeah.
To help
The
people
fastest.
and myself
Yeah. It's like, hey,
restrain. Oh,
yeah.
what is it? But
Wow.
I think it's because I hit a deeper level within myself that
Mm,
something in me got really scared.
right.
Yeah, but I'm moving through it and I know like no, this is I think
Yeah.
there's potency there because it's
Absolutely.
such a sensitive area.
Topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for like being vulnerable right now with us as well as you know, talk about that process because um, I mean, connects us to know that we're all human.
Yeah.
You're definitely very experienced with this, and it still comes up.
Yeah.
It's always an ongoing journey. It's never going to end, and that's okay. That's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think it through this experience, it was another, I think, maybe level of initiation as a teacher for me.
Mm,
And like in that what I'm here to do is to really show you how it is as I move through it because
yeah,
it's something we're constantly going through. And
yeah.
I'm not over it or whatever. I'm like,
Mm.
this is how it is and this is what it takes. And here's some tools. And just know that everything is okay. You're not going to die. This is
Right.
the pathway where you feel like you're dying. And
Mm,
in that, it's like, it's all the programming, shame
yeah.
programming that is being released. So we got to let that
Mm,
happen.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now I'm excited to do the course. Right
Oh,
now. Well, because I share this, well, I mean, it's the same thing with shame and visibility with unconventional Asians. Sometimes I beat myself up. It's the way I speak, like good enough. Like, who am I to share this? It's like I'm no expert, you know? And so, but at the same time, I know in my core being that this needs to be done for some
yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
It's not just for me, but at the same time, it is very scary, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that inner critic of like, oh, like you're not good enough, like, you know, all that stuff,
Yeah.
which can totally paralyze me for like the past 2 months,
Oh
and
my
really moving
goodness.
forward. And thank you for sharing. Like, I remember your IG story also talking about that you might not be productive on the surface doing a lot of things, but we are going through a lot of shifts within us right now. And that's a lot of work, inner work that we're
Mhm,
explicating.
mhm.
And that's actually even more work than the traditional, you know, term of work that we would
Yeah.
define as, right? So
Mhm.
give ourselves some grace.
Give ourselves a lot of grace
Yeah. Yeah.
to um, know that just because something's not seen doesn't
Mm,
mean it's not happening. There's a
mm,
lot of deep, invisible work that's happening within our bodies, within our emotional bodies, and our psyches, and that counts.
yeah.
And to yes, not be so hard on ourselves, really be soft and gentle as we're going through this massive collective awakening, dark night of the soul, you
Yeah.
know? Hmm.
But it's going to be exciting what's on the other side.
Yeah,
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 and that's what I'm looking forward to.
yeah.
Yeah. Michelle here had
Mhm.
a comment here. She shared with us a book that she recommends that talk about fragmentation, disassociation, and trauma.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely going to check that out. Thank you,
Oh,
Michelle.
okay.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's
amazing.
the body keeps the score. I wonder.
Yes, I
Oh,
never I haven't read it yet, but it's totally
yeah,
on my list.
yeah.
Yeah,
Me
because
too.
all like apparently just a lot of emotions stuck in your body,
Yes.
and you don't even realize it, and then it can manifest into pain.
Yep.
And especially like with Asian cultures, we're so good at shoving things down that you don't know you're feeling certain things, but you're like, oh, my back hurts, or like here hurts, or whatever.
Right.
But it's like actually it's a lot deeper than just physical pain. Maybe there's something
Yeah.
else it's trying to tell you. Yeah,
Trauma,
yeah,
flashbacks.
right. And sometimes it's intergenerational too, like, or ancestral, that's coming from
Oh,
your
yeah,
lineage. Yeah,
completely.
yeah. So we just have to acknowledge that as we uncover it, it comes to the surface. It's going to be a very painful process, but as you shed it, like it will get better.
Yeah,
So
it just gets better and better each
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, and we'll become more and more authentic to ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah, and that's the pathway to happiness and purpose.
totally. I love
Yeah,
that. It's like we're becoming lighter, but also more deeply rooted in our
yeah,
true selves.
hmm,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kwoyin. This was such a good
Good. Thank
conversation.
you so
Yeah,
much for having me. This
yeah.
was so fun. Oh.
I hope like everyone learned a lot here because there's so much gems in there that we can, take away. And where can the audience find you?
So I guess my on Instagram at Kwoyin.
Yeah.
And then I have my website, kwoyin.global.
Yeah. And then you do one-on-one coaching as well, right?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
can
you
find
have
that
like,
on the website.
yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Because I know you have like 2 self-study courses now. The catharsis one, which is like a general shadow type of work, and then the visibility shame that it's like hone in onto that specific topic, and then your one-on-one. Amazing. Well, thank you again, and make sure you check her out. And your IG, there's so much good stuff there too. Like you do IG lives once in a while as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the information is there. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
So
for watching, guys. Thank you for
thank
being here.
you, everyone.
Bye
Okay. Take
now.
care.
Bye.
Bye.